Yes, people, welcome back to the channel. Romario Webster here. And as you know, it is the international break and the transfer window has just closed this week. So I'm going to rank every Premier League team's transfer window, including my own Arsenal's, who unfortunately comes first. But before I get into today's video, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications so you know whenever I drop a video. But let's not waste any time. Let's get into this. Arsenal, my club. Now, our transfer window for me has been one of the best. I'm just gonna say it. It's been one of the best. There's no doubt about it. Signing the likes of Eberechi, Vic Gyokeres, Martin Zubimendi, whisper it quietly, Noni Madueke, Hincapi on deadline day. Arsenal have made some top signings, and for me, a lot of the pre-window talk was we need to sell people as much as bring players in, and yet we haven't sold many. The likes of Reece Nelson, Zinchenko, Fabio Vieira have gone out on loan, which isn't ideal. However, at least they're out of the club. Their wages are being covered. Yaka Kivio on loan with an obligation to buy to FC Porto, which is a shame, but we bought in Hincapi on deadline day to replace him. So what we've done this window is set a precedent moving forward. This has been an unprecedented window by Arsenal. Andre Alberta's arrival at the club has seen us be a lot more bold, ambitious in the window. Our pursuit of Vic Gyokeres didn't go on as long as it felt. It was probably about a month chasing him from June to July. We eventually got our man Noni Madueke, a suitable Bukayo Saka backup, as well as a potential starter. Eberechi, for me, a nailed-on starter. Hincapi, great cover. Even the likes of Kepa and Norgard, they're just key. Mascara, I mean, flip. What a signing. What a signing Christian Mascara is. Came on for Saliba against Liverpool the other day, albeit we lost. Mascara didn't really put a foot wrong. I mean, it says here we got him for £13 million. We robbed him. We robbed Valencia for Christian Mascara. It's as simple as that. Top centre back. If Saliba's injured, it's not ideal, but if Mascara's the player coming in, then I'm pretty happy with that. Now, it's at that point where I have to give Arsenal a grade, and I'm going to give us an A. We are doing A plus, A, B. It's only A plus, but yeah, I'll give us an A. I would have given us an A plus had we have sold a Martinelli or Trossard and bought in a top left winger. But the window's shut now, so that's irrelevant. Arsenal get an A. On to Aston Villa. Now, Aston Villa have had a weird transfer window because they're one of the clubs similar to Newcastle who are quite an Everton and Forest, where they're restricted by PSR, the Premier League's financial rules. And Aston Villa are a club who have insane wages to revenue. So pretty much a majority of their budget, their revenue goes on wages, which causes them an issue because you're only supposed to spend as much as you earn. Aston Villa were in the Champions League last year, and this year then Europa League. So they had to sell Jacob Ramsey. They made a crazy amount of sales here. Coutinho left. Didn't know he was still on the books. Leon Bailey out on loan. Yeah, they didn't make too many big sales. It looks like only Jacob Ramsey for £39 million to Newcastle. They bought in the likes of Evan Gasson, Bizot from Brest, Lindelof on a free transfer, Jadon Sancho and Harvey Elliott on loan. And those loan signings, Villa only spent £36 million in total. So they actually made a profit in the window after that Jacob Ramsey sale. So that just tells you everything you need to know. Aston Villa weren't able to actually spend any of their money because of those financial rules. But bringing in Harvey Elliott and Jadon Sancho on loan, I think is good. As well as a lot of the importance is keeping who you have. And I think keeping hold of Morgan Rogers and Ollie Watkins. Morgan Rogers is a player I'd love to have at Arsenal. Probably difficult now. Our squad's quite packed. But if Martinelli and or Trossard left, I think there'd be more than enough space for Morgan Rogers. But yeah, I think Aston Villa, not really hitting, is it? I'm going to give Villa a C. It's just, I'm not convinced by all the players they brought in. Sancho's hit and miss. Harvey Elliott's a good player, but hasn't really been given a lot of time. Gesson from Nice is a decent player. Bizot, Emi Martinez stayed, who I forgot to mention. Man United had agreed personal terms, so I'll give him a C. It's nothing crazy from Villa. On to Bournemouth. Now, Bournemouth, I'm going to start with their outgoings because they really suffered, Bournemouth. They suffered quite a lot in terms of outgoings. Lost Dean Huijsen early in the window to Real Madrid. He played at the Club World Cup. Zabani off to PSG, so their centre-back partnership broken. Then they lose their left-back to Liverpool in Milos Kerkez. Dango Atara left, but he was pushing for that move. Wasn't really getting a lot of game time anyway. We've seen the likes of Max Aarons, Sinistera, Chris Mepham, Jaden Anthony all go out on loan and for small minimal fees. So that's all right. They've struggled in terms of losing big players, but they've got rid of some players that they probably didn't need. And bringing in the likes of Amin Adli, Petrovic, Ben Doak from Liverpool, Traffer from Rennes, very good left back. I've watched him for a while in the Europa League and the Champions League, playing for Rennes, played against Arsenal, of course, a few years back. They signed a young player called Diakite from Lille. Don't know much about him, but £34.6 million would suggest that he's a decent prospect. So, looking at Bournemouth's dealings, I really like Petrovic as a keeper. I actually thought Chelsea should have kept him. I think he's arguably better than Robert Sanchez. He's not crazy good, but again, I think Bournemouth's outgoings is what's hit them. But the money they got for the money they spent on those players is what's impressive. So look, 50 million for Hoyson, 57 for Zabani, 40 for Gyokeres, 42 for Atara. I'm gonna give Bournemouth a B. I'm gonna give them a B. They've got in some big fees there for players they wouldn't have wanted to sell. So moving on, Brentford up next. Now Brentford, of course, lost Thomas Frank to Tottenham, the gaffer. So that's a sort of out in itself. Lost the likes of Mbeumo and Wissa. Wissa finally got that move to Newcastle on deadline day, £55 million, and Mbeumo £71 million to Man United. Also losing their captain, Christian Norgard, who I mentioned earlier, came to my club, Arsenal. He was their captain, important. So although he's 31 and it's only 9 million, it's a big sale for them. They lost their captain, who was there through the promotion season. So yeah, but you look at their ins, Dango Atara, who I just mentioned, Malambo from Feyenoord, very good attacking midfielder. Michael Coyote was made permanent, came on loan last season from Fiorentina. Kelleher, Henderson, Reece Nelson in on loan on deadline day. Decent window from Brentford, but for me, those outgoings, losing Mbeumo and Wissa, who both got, I believe they both got 20 Premier League goals last year, which is incredible for a team of Brentford stature. So, all things considered, I think the outgoings outweigh the incomings for Brentford, and I don't think the incomings are crazily good. Henderson's good experience. Kelleher, I'm a big fan of Kelleher, good keeper, but I'm going to give Brentford a C. I think it'd be too generous to give them a B with those outgoings. So, yeah, a C for Brentford. Now, Brighton. We're on to Brighton. Shouts out my guy Adam McDonald, who I work with at TalkSport. He also has his own YouTube channel. Go check that out. Now, Brighton have brought in a few youngsters, a few wonder kids, as they do. That's the Brighton model. And they've brought in a few Greek young wonder kids. They've only got one on the list, but his name is, I'm going to try and say his name, Charalampos Kostoulas. It wasn't that hard, but he's an attacking midfielder. My boy Adam was telling me about him. He scored, I believe. Yeah, so I've just done a quick little bit of research. The other Greek young wonder kid they have is Stefanos Shimas. He looks good. Both of the young Greek lads look good. And Brighton always sign good young talent. They got in Boskali from PSV, Maxim de Kuiper from Club Brugge, who's actually started and played, I think, all of Brighton's games in the Premier League. However, they did lose a few of their starters. João Pedro, Estupinian, and Cisse. I've always been a fan of Enciso, but it looks like they cleared out a lot of talent, Brighton. I'm just going to go through them. Buonanotte to Chelsea, Evan Ferguson, all loan, Sarmiento, Kozia Dubry on loan, Valentin Barco on loan, Adingra to Sunderland. Brighton have had there's about 20 players they've had out. Maybe that's a good thing. Brighton know what they're doing. I never doubt Brighton. There's a few names on the list I've never heard of. Yundu Yong, Diego Coppola. Never heard of these players. But the way Brighton move, I'm sure I'll hear of them in a few years. So for me, yeah, to be honest, it's not a great window from Brighton. Those Greek youngsters, Shimas was signed in January. Kostoulas is a bit of a baller. I'm going to have to give him a C. I think losing João Pedro, albeit for 60 million, a Dingra 21, you get good fees in for them. But yeah, I still think Brighton could have maybe done a little bit better there. So I'll give Brighton a C. It's not bad. Burnley have done well. Last time Burnley were in the Premier League under Vincent Kompany, they flattered to deceive, not really doing well. They've actually done all right so far this season, Burnley. So it'll be interesting to see if these signings can help them stay up this time. Ugachukwu, Broha in from Chelsea, Bashir Humphreys in from Chelsea as well. They signed Carl Walker on a free transfer. Twanzebe in on a free. Dubravko, who started all the games. But they did lose James Trafford to Man City, their keeper who set a record for clean sheets in the Championship last season. But apart from that, everyone else who left seems like they were dead wood. So, to be fair, I'm going to have to give Burnley a B. There's some big transfer fees in there. 23 mil for Ugachukwu, 20 for Broha, 10 for Bashir Humphreys, 8 million for Marcus Edwards. I think he was on loan with Burnley from January and signed permanently. So to be fair to Burnley, they punched above their weight with some of these transfer fees, and they got a young player here, Loom Chawuna, I think. Some of these names is hard. From Lazio, 13 mil. Yeah, Burnley, it's Burnley. They're probably gonna go down anyway, but they're trying. Give them a B. I'll give Burnley a B. Now on to Chelsea, London rivals, of course, with ourselves. And I might get cussed in the comments here, because I'm looking at it and I think Chelsea could have done better. I'll be honest. I think bringing in João Pedro's class. Esteval, of course, they signed him last year. Liam Delap, Hato, Jamie Gittins. But when you look at who they sold, Madueke, Nkunku, João Felix, Dewsbury Hall, Ugachukwu, Chukwemeka, Broya, Kepa, Ben Chilwell. I mean, you thought Brighton sold a lot of players. Chelsea have taken it to a whole new level. I just look at who they brought in to replace those players, and I'm looking at Garnacho. Doesn't really impress me. Jamie Gittins, young, got potential, but he's not there yet. Liam Delap, same story. Esteval, same story. He's 18. Dario Sugo, don't know much about him. Young Portuguese midfielder. And albeit from a financial business side, Chelsea's dealings are smart and they work and they keep the club in a good financial position. On the playing side, I'm just interested to see how this is going to affect them. You saw they tried to bring Nicholas Jackson back from his loan move to Bayern, which stalled and then eventually went through because Chelsea realised they're sort of just taking the piss out of Nicholas Jackson, and you sort of had to let him complete his move to Bayern Munich. So for me, I don't think this transfer window Chelsea have necessarily improved their side. I think it's pretty much the same standard as last season, which is a good standard. But I thought Chelsea would challenge for the league title this season, and we saw Liam Delap get injured against Fulham. And for me, it's a sign that Chelsea's squad might struggle. Last year, they had Conference League. They could effectively play two different starting 11s in those competitions. And now they're in the Champions League. You really have to play as strong a side as possible in those games. So for me, I'm going to give Chelsea a C. It's not quite a D. I do think they've had a good window. João Pedro is a great signing. Hater, I'm a big fan of. Esteval, what a guy. So yeah, we'll give Chelsea a C. Crystal Palace. Now, they might have had the worst window. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go out and say now, obviously there's a few more teams, I'm probably going to say they've had the worst window, mainly because of the time they've wasted. Eberechi Eze eventually joined us for 67.5 million. It's the same price they wanted in June, July, and August. And to be fair, I think Arsenal was sort of dragging their heels a bit, which gave Tottenham encouragement. And then we all saw how that unfolded. Arsenal nicked in. And to be fair, looking at the list, Eze's the only main player that Palace had lost. Mark Gahey was on the verge of joining Liverpool on deadline day, didn't. Adam Wharton stayed. Jean-Philippe Mateta stayed. Ismaila Sarr has stayed. So, to be fair, maybe I'm being harsh, actually. Yeah, I went too far. Nah, it's not the worst window. It's not great, but it's not the worst. They signed Camvo, Jeremy Pino, great player. If you play Football Manager, you know about Jeremy Pino, a bit of a wonder kid from Villarreal. Borna Sosa and Benitez, both from the Dutch league, Ajax and PSV, the two rivals. So Sosa and Benitez will bring experience. And yeah, to be fair, it's not a bad window. They've kept Gahey, which I respect. Glasner pretty much refused to stay. He said if you sell Gahey now after Igor from Brighton chose to join West Ham instead of Palace, he said basically I'll leave. I'll leave the club if you sell Gahey. And I sort of respect that stance. So, you know what? On reflection, I'll give them a C. Only because I feel like Palace, off the back of winning an FA Cup, they got unlucky getting kicked out of the Europa League. That's a topic for another video. But to sell Eze, nearly sell Gahey and then not, it's just shaky. Just the club just doesn't seem aligned at the minute. So, yeah, Palace get a C. Everton, first season in the new stadium, the Hill Dickinson Stadium. Unfortunately named, but that's football these days. Business comes first. Everton have had a good window, and my favourite incoming for Everton is Jack Grealish. I'm a big fan of Jack Grealish, man. I think Grealish is a good player. I think he's similar to Rashford, Foden, even maybe a Martinelli in terms of their attacking wide players or attacking players who rely on confidence. I played football, obviously not to the level anywhere near to the level of the Premier League, but when you're not confident as a forward player at any level of football, you're not going to play well. It's all about confidence in the forward attacking areas. Defenders, it's all about being calm, composed. Similar to midfielders, it's more about being composed and calm. Whereas I think some attackers can benefit from not being so calm, and they need that almost buzz where their blood's pumping. They just want to run and run and run. There's not a lot of calmness in that. It's actually the opposite, where you're intense, you're constantly going. And Grealish is that. And I think at Everton, he's the guy. He's the man they're all going to look to. And Beto, they're all loving playing with him. They've also bought him Dewsbury Hall, who's had a great link up with Ndiaye and Grealish. It's given me Barclays era stuff, man. Grealish and Dewsbury Hall just bought in the young Tyler Diblin. £42 million, a lot of money, but it's an investment. You can easily see Tyler Diblin being bought by one of the bigger clubs in 3-4 seasons for double that. It's easily done. It's happened before. And in terms of outgoings, they didn't let go of too many of their best talent. Calvert-Lewin obviously left on a free. Chermiti went to Rangers on deadline day. Neil Maupay made his loan to Marseille permanent. So Everton, they've had a good window, man. I didn't quite realise they've had such a good window. And I like David Moyes. He's Barclays, isn't he? That's Barclays' heritage, David Moyes. I'm giving Everton a B. I'm going to give him a B, and it's nearly an A. Fulham, now, I'm not sure about Fulham. I actually didn't realise they sold Andreas Pereira to Palmeiras. 10 million. Palmeiras are using a bit of that Club World Cup money. Carlos Vinicius left. Willian left. That's pretty much about it. Notable names. And they bought in Kevin. Kevin isn't English, he's Brazilian. Another one of them Brazilians with an English name, and I love that, to be honest. And they bought in Chukwueze on loan. Fulham just confused me, man. Fulham are the oldest club in London, the oldest football club in London. They're one of the richest owners in the league in Shahi Khan, but they just don't really do anything, Fulham. I remember growing up, 2009, Fulham were getting to Europa League finals back when it was called the UEFA Cup. They were getting to UEFA Cup finals with Roy Hodgson. Now they're just there. It's like they're just happy to be in the Premier League. And that is sort of why I'm going to give them this grade. I'm giving Fulham a D. For me, Fulham are too comfortable in the Premier League, and I think they've got the potential. They're in London. They've got history. They've got heritage. For me, Fulham have everything you need to sort of kick on, like the likes of Brighton are kicked on, the likes of Forest. I think Fulham, you know, they've got what you need, and they're not really doing it. Fulham just flattered to deceive, so that's why they're getting a D from me. Pause. On to Leeds. Leeds United, back in the Prem. They're a weird one. Leeds actually, they're owned by, I believe they're part of the Red Bull group. They're not called Red Bull Leeds. And I actually thought we'd see some more bolder, bigger signings, similar to Sunderland, who we'll come on to in a minute. But, you know, they signed the likes of Noah Okafor, who I saw when I was at the Emirates last week when we played Leeds, B.O., Longstaff, Goodmanson, Swedish international from Lille, Calvert-Lewin on a free, Nemecha on a free from Wolfsburg. It's not moving me. It's screaming relegation. Outgoings, Sam Greenwood, shouts out the Arsenal Youth Academy, Christensen, Firpo. I don't know, man. Leeds aren't moving me at all. Noah Okafor's decent. He's a decent forward. He didn't really do much when they played us, and I guess I'm sort of basing this off what I saw from Leeds when I was at the Emirates, that they just don't look like a team that's going to survive in the Prem. We beat them 5-0, and that's an Arsenal side that's not really firing. Yeah, to be fair, our other two games are away to United and Liverpool, so it's hard to truly gauge where Arsenal are at. But yeah, Leeds, man, they've tried, but I think based off who their owners are, I just thought they'd use those contacts and links. They haven't signed anyone from another Red Bull club. Yeah, I'm giving Leeds a D. The big one, Liverpool. Now, they've taken the Michael Jackson for me. Liverpool have taken it way too far this window, but I sort of love it. I'll be honest. Why do I love what Liverpool have done? They've just blown the bank. They won the league and they said, you know what? Let's do it again. Let's try and win the league again. Let's put all our money into new signings. And as my Liverpool fan friends will tell me, they haven't put all their money in. Net spend this, net spend that. And to be honest, I'm tired of hearing about net spend because Liverpool broke the British transfer record twice this window. People are going to tell me they didn't. Florian Wirtz, it says here £100 million. It's more than £100 million. We all know that. Isak, £125 million. To sign Alexander Isak on top of Florian Wirtz, on top of Hugo Ekitike, on top of Milos Kerkez, on top of Frimpong. It's impressive. It's the stuff that shows ambition, it shows belief, it shows drive. You have to respect it. And the reason why I mentioned net spend, and, you know, that's all Liverpool fans bang on about, is because they've sold Luis Diaz for 65 million, sold Darwin Núñez for 46, Gerald Konsa 35, Ben Doak 25 million, Tyler Morton to Lyon for 50 million. I mean, you guys will have to tell me, but I've not seen much of Tyler Morton. How have they got £15 million from Lyon? Fair play to Liverpool, man. That's a super window. Of course, Liverpool did beat us over the weekend. They beat us at their ground. They didn't have Isak. They did have Wirtz and Ekitike. Kerkez, Frimpong was injured. But Liverpool have made some good signings, man. I think if they sign Mark Gahey, we'd have to create a new grade, because signing Mark Gahey on top of that would be mental. And I know I banter Liverpool fans and all this, and I say, Gyokeres is better than Isak. But yes, of course, at the start of the window, I would have taken Isak over Gyokeres, but we were never spending £125 million on Isak. That just wasn't happening. We needed too much work, so that's the reality of it. But I'm going to give Liverpool an A+. Why? Because they've done what champions should do. Win and then make sure you can win again. And looking at the signings, they've got no excuse. I said it 2 months ago before Isak looked realistic when they'd signed the likes of Verts. They hadn't even signed Ekatike at that point. Ekatike's class. And for me, you look at those names, Liverpool have to win the league. No excuses. Don't want to hear it. Man City. On to Man City. Pep's having a bit of a howler. I'll be honest. I don't know what Pep's doing. I don't know what's happened to him, man. He just ain't got the sauce like that anymore, man. City losing to Tottenham wasn't that mad because as football fans, we know Tottenham's a bit of a bogey team for City. It's a bit of a bogey ground. But to then go and lose to Brighton, who are a good team. I like Brighton, as I've said. But this is City we're on about. This is City who have signed Tajani Reinders, who, by the way, had a great debut. Everyone in fantasy rushed to get him. He's done nothing since. Ryan Shirky, similar story. Ain't Nori, similar story. James Trafford has already been replaced by Donnarumma, who City bought in on deadline day. And City, of course, did also sign Norwegian wonderkid Sverre Nipan, but he went out on loan to Middlesbrough. You look at some of their outgoings, Kyle Walker, Kevin De Bruyne, Jack Grealish on loan, Akanji on loan, Echeverri on loan, which is a good move to Leverkusen. Yeah, letting go of De Bruyne and Ederson was a brave decision for me. Losing 2 experienced heads, Rodri still coming back from that horrific ACL injury, and I'm looking at the transfers and they're good. I'll be honest, they're good on paper. Big fan of Reinders and Shirky. But to be honest, Ain't Nori's good. Good Premier League left back. Nice. Does the job. But I'll be honest, City squad building in the last 2 seasons hasn't been great. And for me, this isn't great either. And this is City. They've got a lot of money. They've not really spent a lot in terms of net spend, which is everyone's new favourite phrase, but I'm going to give Man City a C. It's underwhelming for me. If I'm a Man City fan, especially because most of those players played in the Club World Cup where City didn't play well, you spent £50 million on new keepers. I mean, if that was Arsenal, Arteta would be getting absolutely hammered for that. Yeah, for me, it's a C. That's underwhelming. And to be honest, I think it reflects in City's start to the season. I think they needed more. Yeah, I'll give them a C. Over to the other side of Manchester, Man United now. I'm inclined to not be harsh here because Man United are a bottom half club at the minute. They finished 15th. That was cheap. That was harsh. But United aren't in a good way. Arsenal never sunk this low. Liverpool never. No big club really has sunk as low as United have. Amarin's lost more games than he's won or drawn. Scary times for Man United. So when you consider all that, them to bring in Sesko, Cunha, and Bremo, Lamins from Antwerp, Belgian keeper, reminds me of Courtois, just the way he looks. Not seen him play, to be honest. Selling the likes of Garnacho, Anthony, loaning out Rashford, Højlund with an obligation to buy to Napoli, Sancho out on loan. They've got rid of the so-called bomb squad. Ericsson, Johnny Evans, Lindelof will release. So they've cleared out a bit of the squad. United have done all right. Their business is decent, but for me, United not signing a centre midfielder just doesn't make sense. And they had the money because they've spent the best part of £200 million on Sesko and Bremo and Cunha. So did they need all 3? Maybe not. Sesko is probably more of a market opportunity, and also they couldn't rely on Højlund and Xerxes again. So I actually understand why United would have done that. Context considering, I'll give United a B. It's a bit better than City's because United have no expectations at the minute. They just need to try and finish as high as possible. And I'm not even bantering. You can't finish 15th and expect European football. That's what you call being unrealistic. So I'll give them a B because they're trying. Newcastle. From the outside, you might think Newcastle have had an absolute howler. And to be honest, they sort of have because they stood firm on Isak all summer. Every week of the window saying he's not going anywhere. They pretty much were even hinting at reintegrating him into the squad. And then I think the owners went and spoke to Isak and realised he don't want to play for them. And I think they thought maybe they could convince him, turn him around, change his mind. But for me, Pep Guardiola always says it, Arteta says it, once a player doesn't want to be at the club, you're better off letting them go because what is the point in keeping them? What is the point? If Isak had stayed until January, his chance of value plummets. You've got 125 million. You could have got that in June or July. Like, I just don't get why clubs do that, why they hold strong for so long and then let them go on deadline day. To be fair to Newcastle, they have bought in Nick Voltemada, Jan Visser, Anthony Elanga, Jacob Ramsey, who we spoke about earlier on in the video, Malik Tau from AC Milan. So to be fair, they have done decent business. Aaron Ramsdale on loan to cover Martin Dubravka leaving. So Newcastle have had a decent window, but the reason I'm going to give them a C because one, they've definitely overpaid for Visser and Voltemada. Visser's 29, 55 million for Visser. Yeah, it's not bad. If he does the business, he does the business. But I'm just not convinced by the price for Visser. Elanga 55 mil. I think that's just the going rate for any decent forward or winger in the league at the minute. So yeah, I'll give Newcastle a C. They turned it round. They could have had an F. If they kept Isak, I would have given them a D, maybe even an E or F because, yeah, man, Newcastle wasted a lot of their own time this window and they got Champions League. They didn't need to do that. So, but a C is not bad for Newcastle. They get a C. On to Nottingham Forest, who are now overlooked by Edu. Edu, who, of course, left Arsenal midway through last season, replaced by Andrea Berto, and all Arsenal fans are delighted that he's gone. But let's look at Forest quickly. Amari Hutchinson in from Ipswich, 37 mil, not bad. Bakwa from Strasbourg, 35 mil. I don't know much about him. Dan Ndoye, always been a big fan. Swiss international. Just got him into my fantasy team. Hopefully he can do me bits. But when I bought him on, of course, they lost 3-0 to West Ham. McAtee, Callum Wendo from Rennes, Igor, Jesus, Cunha, and Victor, all from Botafogo. Douglas Luiz on loan. Made some big sales, as we mentioned. Anthony Elanga, 55 mil. Danilo to Botafogo, 20 mil. Ramon Sosa, Palmeiras, 10 mil. They made some decent sales. Matt Turner to Lyon. Nottingham Forest have done some decent business. To be honest, I like Forest. They've got one of those weird multi-club models that has caused controversy. They obviously took Crystal Palace's spot in the Europa League. Yeah, I'll give Forest a B. They've done well. Sunderland. Now, Sunderland are an interesting team. I've always liked Sunderland, and their owner is, I'm going to try to say his name. It's French. Kyril Louis Douifou. I hope I got that right. But he's 27. He's the same age as me, and he owns Sunderland. But yeah, they've had a very good window. They've bought in the likes of Bib Diarra from Strasbourg, who I do know a little bit about. Centre midfielder. Strasbourg have got some talent. There's been about 4 players bought into the Prem for 30 mil. Chelsea have got their hands involved in that somehow. Simon Adingra, Enzo Lefebvre, Mukiele from PSG, Reynaldo from Atleti, Getruda from Leipzig, Dutch defender, Masuaku. But the one that I love, and I'm sure you know why I love him, Granit Xhaka. I mean, when I saw that Granit Xhaka was joining Sunderland, it made sense to me because Granit Xhaka's mental and it's the sort of challenge that probably he's looking for at this stage of the career. He's not the type of player to want to go to Saudi too soon unless he really has to. And they've started the season well. 2 wins out of 3 games. I think Sunderland stay up. Sunderland get an A from me. I'm giving Sunderland an A. What a transfer window. I didn't expect it. I knew that owner was wealthy and he was an interesting character, but he's got good contacts in the French football scene as well. And for me, for Sunderland to bring the quality of player they have, spending the money they have, that's real ambition. Sort of what I was talking about with Leeds. Not as much ambition as I expected from them. So Sunderland get an A from me. Now, we're on to Tottenham. Tottenham have had a weird window. It's been a window of rejection. Shouts out Eberechi. We nearly let him suffer by going to Tottenham. But don't worry, Ebs, you're at home now. Tottenham are, of course, in for Eze, didn't get him. They wanted Mbeumo, didn't get him. So it's been a bit of a tough window for Tottenham. But they did get Mohamed Kudus, Xavi Simons, Matisse Tell joined permanently, João Palhinha on loan, Kola Mawani on loan. Not bad, is it, from Tottenham? That's actually decent. I'd love to really go in here, but they kept hold of a lot of their talent. Christian Romero signing a new deal, bringing in Thomas Frank as gaffer. You know what? I'm going to give Tottenham a B. I think Tottenham have done well this window, considering some of the disappointments, not always getting their targets. And to get Xavi Simons, that was the player I mentioned on my channel at the start of the window as the player I take at Arsenal. So for me, for Tottenham to get Xavi Simons and Kudus, moving on from the disappointment and not getting Eze and Mbeumo, you've got to respect it. So I give Tottenham a B. João Palhinha, top player. Kolo Muani as well. Thomas Frank, for me, might be their best signing. I'm a big fan of Thomas Frank. Think he can sort of change Tottenham's fortunes, but there's still that Tottenham curse. They beat City 2-0 away, looking great, and then they lose at home to Bournemouth. I don't know, maybe they're cursed, but yeah, when it comes to transfers, they've done their job. I give Tottenham a B. West Ham. Now, West Ham, they're another weird one. They started the season shakily, 2 L's from their first 2 games. and then they beat Forest 3-0. The Premier League's mental. I can't work it out. You can't truly guess who you think's going to win a game from week to week. And West Ham's transfer business, I mean, as we just spoke about, they sold Mohamed Kudus to rivals Tottenham, which didn't go down well, but that was sort of the only main outgoing. There's a lot of experienced players that were released. Fabianski, Zuma, Mikel Antonio, Harsh maybe, Cresswell, Danny Ings all joined other clubs. Soufal, Emerson went to Marseille for just under £1 million. But they bought in Mateus Fernandes from Southampton. Tadibo was made permanent. Hermansen, who's not had the greatest start. Carl Walker-Peters, Callum Wilson. But my favourite signing of West Ham, who I mentioned in my Wonder Kids video, is El Hadji Malik Diouf from Slavia Prague. El Hadji Malik Diouf is class. I said at the start of the season, I watched him in a bit of their pre-season games, and I predicted he'd do well. He's in my fantasy. He got an assist for Callum Wilson in that 3-0 win. So there's two new signings linking up there. Again, similar to Fulham, a club that is in the right spot in terms of being in London. They can capitalise on that, and I don't think they always do, but they've tried. And some of these signings they've made, you can tell they are trying. But I can't give West Ham more than a C. I don't think they've replaced Kudus adequately, and some of the signings like Callum Wilson's just a bit unflattering for me. Mateus Fernandes is decent. He doesn't really wow me too much. Maybe I've not watched enough of him. I didn't watch much Southampton last year, but £38 million, not a bad fee, but yeah. And finally, now this might be the worst window. Wolves is the club I'm on about. Lost Mateus Cunha to United, 8 Nori, probably the only two big ones. And to be fair, they got 22.8 mil for Fabio Silva. That's great. That's quality business, actually. You might have just elevated yourselves to a C Wolves. Because how you got 22.8 million for Silva to Dortmund is insane. But I look at who they bought in. Strand Larsen was made permanent. Maybe they were restricted there. There's John Arias from Fluminense, we saw at the Club World Cup. They signed Nigerian striker Tolu Arokadare from Genk for 23.5 mil. He might turn out to be class. Fer Lopez from Celta Vigo. You know what it is with Wolves? For me with Wolves, another club that's gotten comfortable in the Premier League. Never seemed like they're going down, but last season we saw how easy it is to get caught in that relegation battle. Wolves have to be careful. None of these players they've bought in, minus Strand Larsen, of course, are Premier League proven. I don't know with Wolves. Those signings aren't moving me. And to sell Cunha and 8 Nori, I'm going to give them a D. Maybe that's a lack of knowledge. Wolves fans, if you're watching, let me know. But yeah, for me, that's a D for Wolves. But now, that Premier League summer transfer window was mad. I didn't quite realise the amount of business that's been done by every team. £3.1 billion spent. It's more than every other league combined, or more than the other top 5 leagues combined. It's crazy. The Premier League has truly turned into the Super League, and I think it's not going to stop. That's what I think a lot of transfer windows moving forward will be like. Clubs in the Premier League outspending some of the biggest clubs in the world in Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich. It's crazy, but that's been it from me. Let me know in the comments if you support Brighton, Fulham, Chelsea, whoever you support. Let me know if you think I've been harsh, if I'm accurate, if I've been too generous. Let me know in the comments below what you think, because I think I've been fairly accurate. I've been quite honest, and I've been harsh, which I'm proud of myself for. But that's it from me. Leave a like, subscribe to my channel, turn on your notifications so you know when I drop a video, and I'll see you next time. Peace!